Shall we try again, shall we? See if it wants to work this time round. We are playing. Is my stream's not working, is it? There. And we're back finally. Let's just have a quick look at the grid. So Benny's on pole from George apparently. Tatey third. Tatey in third. That's actually pretty decent if that's true. I don't know if that's true. Oh, like. So I'm in that situation like in the BSR league where I don't know who's on pole. It's a pretty cool track though. Raul's sort of the side of the track. George still going for it. I mean, George might be on pole for all I know. There's George spinning. Tatey, my driver, with a breaker as well. Breaker might be. He's changed the colour of the car this week. Interesting to see. All is joined. We're just waiting for him to enter, and then I think we're on for a race. And I think we've got 14 drivers here, so it should be fairly interesting. 13 drivers, I think, actually. So we have 13 drivers from possible 15, I think. There are 2 not here. Not gonna lie, my voice just gets so fired up, like dry as fuck. It's just the lack of things I drink, I think. Just dries my back of my voice up. But anyway, we'll find out who's on pole in a second, I think. I hope it's Tatey second. I mean, I'm not sure. It says Black November's second on that list. I don't think Black November's in second. If he is, I'll be extremely surprised with the amount of practice he puts in. Let's find out then. There's a Fanta Banter car in second. But it's George Porridge in second. Raul in first, George second, Mockmeat's third, WRC fourth, Benny fifth, Dory sixth, Breaker in seventh. Well done to Breaker. Tatey in 10th there. But Breaker in seventh, he's picked up the pace since last week. I'm very happy about that, but is George going to get better off than it? Doesn't look like it. It looks like Raul has, and George is going backwards. And it looks like Mocking Weeks has gone right round the outside and taken the lead of this race. Will he get the better exit? He's gone from, I think it was third to first in practically no time at all. Obviously getting the fast starting I don't know what car is in, I think it's a Z4 with Raul looking to get that position back. George and WRC, and oh, there's a little bit of contact between Benny, WRC, and there's Mr. Aldo. I think. Oh, there's lots of cars off. Dory's just sat on the grid. Olitz have been involved now, so I can't confirm, but Raoul, there's a right old battle for the lead. Raoul, Benny, George, Mocking Weeks has made a mistake and gone down into 4th place. We've got WRC in 5th. We've got a 5-way scrap for the lead at the minute. WRC trying it around the outside, not working for him. Black November's getting involved with this little bit of a battle. Now we can find out who's involved in this. Tatey, Bud, Aldo. Breaker, I think, may have avoided it. And that's a very nice corner indeed, I must admit. It's pretty cool to watch from as Rue looks, or Mick, I keep forgetting to call him what his real name is. Mick's looking at Aldo, Mucky Mick, so to say, but I'm not making that stick. Where's George Porridge? George has actually dropped it, and wow. And George has dropped back, but obviously he keeps carrying on and hopefully he can come back later. But Black November and Breaker having a bit of a ding dong as Breaker bins it as well. But Breaker up into P6, I'm very happy with that. He nearly got P5 as well, but it's quite unfortunate with that bin. Apparently he's been involved in an incident with Aldo, so that'll be interesting. But Raoul has got away in the lead with Benny in 2nd, Mucky Meeks 3rd, WRC 4th, Black November 5th, Breaker 6th, F1J 7th, Ollie 8th, Tatey's in the pits in 9th, George is in the pits in 10th, Bud 11th, and Aldo coming in the pits in dead last. But there's been a little bit of a move, I think. Black November's actually to 4th place. I think Benny's actually the one who's binned it, and Breaker is looking for a move on Benny. Obviously we're quite inconsistent in the minute, so Breaker might be able to make something happen. This Spaniard, who's had a mixed start to the season, it's fair to say. Sometimes he's up there, sometimes, well, he's never been up there, but he's learning as he goes, and he's not challenging. But November will be very happy with his start up into P4. Obviously his start to the season's been compromised, but he's had a fairly good start for once, I've got to say. But the top 3 seem to be getting a Raoul has stretched his advantage to Mucky Mix, who took the early lead and now has dropped back, with WRC in 3rd place, Black November in 4th, and he's understeered off, which allows Benny to go past, and maybe Breaker could get the opportunity to go past as well, and he has, into 5th place. So Breaker's now up into 5th from 7th. Black November trying it back, and also Ollie having a go at Black November as well. We've got a little bit of a scrap in the midfield, and F1J just beat it behind. Will Ollie try into turn 1? It looks like he's going for it. He's pulling out, going down the inside of Black November, and it looks like he may have got that position over the Beetle. So for the Phantom Banter guys, it's been pretty disastrous, to say the least. But we're going to look at a battle further up. We've got Ollie and Black November going all sorts of sideways. I can't... Oh, I've got that thing where I can't actually see. Look, trying to change the camera angle. And it won't let me. But Ollie, in the meanwhile, has got past Black November, who seems to be going only way backwards. Mucky Mix has managed to get himself free of Benny in 2nd. WRC, he slipped behind Benny, so WRC's made some sort of a mistake. Breaker in on his own in 5th, with Ollie closing him down. Obviously, last season 1 champion, should I say. With Black November in 7th, and F1J in 8th. Obviously, you'll be noticing that there's no. As Black November bins it into the wall, and he's going to carry on his merry way. But you'll notice there's no Tom this week. He can't make, unfortunately. This is one of his 3 rounds he can't make. So that could be the end of his championship. as Breaker sets his new fast lap for him. But all it looks like is going to close him down. Black November's in the pits and should get ahead of Tatey and George. Judging by the pit stop, depends how long it is. But we're going to go a bit further forward, see if there's any battles. Anywhere, but I think this one between Breaker and All It seems to be the closest one. And I apologise that I'm not fully on it. I'm actually watching F1 qualifying at the same time. Yeah, so we've got All It, Breaker, and I would say F1 JB is a bit further back. George has actually got ahead of his teammate Black November. So I'm expecting George to find some pace from somewhere. I'm expecting him to be a little bit faster, but obviously looking at that, he's got quite a bit of damage. Tatey looks in a little bit of trouble. He's catching Tatey a lot, and it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know if George has to pit again or everyone's doing a two-stop maybe. I'm not just sure. As Benny has fell back behind WRC, it looks like he's been overtaken. Breaker's actually keeping up with these two quite nicely, so maybe Breaker could have a nice fight for the podium. That'd be a nice surprise. Because to be honest, he's been the only driver in the SLR team. Obviously Tatey's here for this week. And Breaker is in the pits with Benny, and WRC does the overcut. So it'll be interesting to see where they come out in terms of where George is. I think they'll be ahead of George and Tatey. As you can see, Breaker's out now. Tatey's there, coming around the final corner. And there's a 7-second gap to Tatey and George, so they're still in this race. They just need to have some decent pace. But looking further forward, F1J is starting to put the pressure on All It. Just interested to see if the overcut or the undercut works. We'll see in very shortly. But it looks like Raoul, no matter what he does, is going to be in the lead still. You know, F1's done, we can put that away. Mucky Meek's second, WC third. All It is in the temporary fourth spot. And F1J fifth. Benny sixth. Breaker is 4 seconds behind Benny now. He was a bit closer, but he's sort of dropped back since the stops. Tatey and George looks a hell of a lot faster than Tatey. You see he's getting all out of shape as Tatey, but George just swoops around and looks to have got the position. I wish I could change the camera, but it won't let me. So, George makes that into P8. Black November will be hoping to do the same thing in a couple of laps' time, I reckon. There's F1J and All It stay out for one more lap. Obviously Breaker and Benny pit earlier, and you see Benny's got so much more pace than Breaker at this point. I wonder if they're on different tyres. I mean, I've spoke to Breaker about tyres before. We'll find out, shall we? No, they're all on the same tyres, Racing Supers. It's just Breaker is a lot slower, it seems. Did Dory ever get offline? Bud's in last. I didn't notice that even Bud was racing, to be honest. But there's a battle for the wooden spoon. As George makes another stop, so he's had a bit of trouble somewhere down the line. But I reckon this will be a 2 to 3 stop anyway. Probably a 2 stop anyway. But can George take them to the end? I don't know. As Aldo and Bud are going a bit at it. There's any battles in the air, as you can see F1J and All It. As F1J's actually got past All It, so All It Does it have the pace as F1J at the minute? Obviously, I'm presuming Ollie has done a less practice than F1J. Because he's only just got back from wherever he's been. As Ollie runs wide onto the grass, the Season 1 champion, and can't really keep with F1J. Obviously, F1J is a race winner. He won that very dramatic race at Cato last season, which was extremely dramatic. You see Mocky Meeks spin. I'm expecting everyone else to file in. Because look at the fuel that Mocky Meeks has. And they all start with the same amount of fuel, 20 litres. And Mick actually carries on. And so does F1J, and so does Ollie. So, Ollie comes in actually. I'm telling a lie, F1J does. So Mick carries on. I'll be interested to see if he runs out of fuel or not. But Mocky Meeks is up his arse. So that's how much of a gap Mocky Meeks had on him. Breaker seems to have got ahead. Breaker is actually just behind Ollie. Ollie has jumped him, but F1J has had a disastrous pit stop. I don't really know what's happened to him. And he's dropped behind in 7th now. But Ollie is claimed 5th, Breaker 6th. In the battle. And Ollie's getting all that shape. I've sent them cold tyres. And Mocky Meeks has just got past there on WRC to reclaim 2nd. Will the undercut work for Mocky Meeks on Raoul? I'm not so sure. I think Raoul's gained a bit of time on him. Benny's still out there. Ollie is got Breaker 8 temps behind him. That's probably close to battle on track. George is in 10th, trying to chase down Tatey. So it's looking like these tyres don't last very long, because Tatey may have pitted again. And get rid of that, and we can find out. See Black November, I think he's yet to pit. And Black November's got damage. George hasn't got any. I think he may have had when he pit. And as you can see, WRC actually has a bit of damage. You can see what people have, and Breaker has a bit of front. So the F1J, where would WRC come out? Because Benny's going past now. Will Ollie get out ahead? I think they will. Ollie's out ahead and Breaker's got out ahead, so this has worked out pretty badly for WRC. I think he's fixed his damage though, as you can see there. But it's come out behind Breaker and that's very nice. It's come out behind Benny and Ollie. So WRC, it's worked out pretty disastrously for him, but if he can work his way up to back up to P4, it won't be so bad. But it's dropped so far off Benny. So Benny seems to have pace over these lot. Ollie seems to have the pace over WRC, and I think the two behind him do. So the worst he can do really is 7th, I reckon, Breaker today, unless he bins it somewhere. Black November in 8th, where his teammate George got past Tatey in 9th. Obviously, I think it's the top 12 that actually get points. You can see Raoul's lap times, and then you look at the car behind Mocky Meeks. It's very consistent, but he's in the 48s and 49, so he's in the 50s, and you can see Ollie is dipped into the 49s as well, and got some serious pace. So he's gained on Benny on that lap. About 50.6, yeah, he has. WRC's in the 49s, F1J's in the 51s, and Breaker's into the 53s at the minute. So he needs to pick up the pace, does Breaker. He's losing out. But November's in the 53s. George has done a 49s and 50s at the minute. So George does have the pace to catch even Breaker at this point. By the end of the race. 10 laps, 4 seconds a lap. Well, 3 seconds a lap, 2 to 3 seconds a lap, yeah. That's 20 to 30 seconds. So he can catch Breaker and get P7. Obviously the reverse grid, this will work well for George because everyone behind him he knows he can beat, so with the anybody else on track? Not really, it's kind of died down now. I think the closest thing we've got to a battle is WRC, F1J and Ollie. And Breaker's dropped a bit further back. And George caught him a lot. In the Fanta Banter racing team. Obviously it looked so promising at the start. Black November seemed to have pace and so did George, but then Black November binned it on his own and George seemingly did the same. But he's going 2 tenths quicker on his personal best or on the last lap, I'm not sure. We'll find out. He's well into the 50s though. Whereas Breaker is in the 53s. In this lap, Breaker's in the 54s, which is shocking. Is the way I'd describe that. As George is pushing, and this lap is a 50.6. Let's start by 3 tenths. They did a 40.8, but that's not his fastest because apparently it was illegitimate, I think. But F1J seems to be keeping up with WRC at this point. Ollie seems to be getting away a little bit. Raul has the first step with a 49.4, but he's done 48.8 in recent laps, which is a lot quicker. Mocky Meats can't keep up with his pace. Neither can Benny, really. Ollie can't really either. He's the closest to their pace in terms of lap time, but not consistency. WRC can't live with Ollie, let's put it that way. And WRC and, mind you, they're in the 49s now. Breaker's in the 54s, which is quite depressing to be honest, as a team owner. And George Porridge is catching him quite quickly, it's fair to say. And he started 16, it was like 22 before. Obviously he's pit twice now, George. We'll have a quick look at the old as George is getting a bit out of shape out of last corner. What's his lap time going to be? A 50.1, that's his fastest of the race so far. So George is slowly creeping. Obviously he's done 49 already, but that wasn't his fastest. There's Raul creeps into the 48s. So he's definitely quicker than everybody at this point. These are the closest cars on track. F1J. And in fact, Ollie's dropped back. He's made a mistake. He's definitely made a mistake. If I could change the camera angle, it'd be brilliant. Breaker had said he was a safe 7th. We've got a very unhappy Big Bad Bud. in the old comments. George is definitely catching Breaker at some speed. Mind you, Breaker did a 42.6 last lap, so that's an improvement. But he really needs to knock a couple more seconds off that. Oh no, Breaker! He's binned it! And there's George in the background. And it looks like George will get in very quickly. I don't know what this lap time's going to be. Oh, as they get a bit faster into turn 1. There's a break. George's last lap wasn't particularly impressive, but Breaker's was so bad it's not even funny. 2:05, you know. That's the sort of lap times you don't want to be doing. Ollie, P6. F1J seems to go in a little bit slower through there, so I think Ollie's slowly closing the gap after that mistake. It looks like he can still have the, well, commentator's curse, I was about to say. It seems like he's still got the pace. Then he runs to Narnia, and consistency is key. And it's at the front it's all spread out. WRC can't catch Benny, he's slowly pulling away. F1J in the same way can't catch WRC because he's pulling away a couple of tenths a lap. Mind you, if F1J could have kept in the 49s, he'd be able to catch him. But tell you what, Mocky Meeks has been so consistent. 51.1 this lap though. First time he's in 51s for a long time, but he's barely been in the 49s. He hasn't been that quick. He hasn't been as quick as you'd think. As in, Benny can catch him if he ever gets into the 49s. Benny's been dreadful these last couple of laps. I mean, to be fair, WRC is actually catching him and he's pulled 2 seconds on him this lap. So maybe WRC is still on for a podium. And you can tell how much fuel they've got as well. As you can see, Benny will have to pit soon, according to this, because his fuel and his tyres don't look particularly great either. Benny will probably be going to, Raul will probably go to the end of some Mocky Meeks. You've got to pit again, my friend. WRC, touch and go. I think F1J may have to. Ollie definitely will have to. George looks to be going to the end. Same with Black November, so these two might be coming into play later on. Well, these two. I'll say Black November's 20 seconds behind. As Breaker's made a pit stop for his final stop, and he's got engine problems that aren't going to get fixed, I don't think. So unfortunately for Breaker, just carry on and get to the end. I think he binned it again. Mocky Meeks comes into bits, and I said that Mocky Meeks might not stop again, but I think they all are, except for probably George. So Benny comes in, WRC stays out, F1J stays out, Benny's in, Ola is in, George doesn't look like he's good for an either from where he is. George is coming through the last corners, and Oleg's gone through the first, so despite that, despite his pace and everything, he's not quite there. Still 14 seconds away from Oleg. Obviously, F1J, who was closest to him, hasn't stopped yet, so that might be a little bit of a closer gap. I reckon it will be a closer gap. Because F1J will be on the right on the limit, I reckon. 5 seconds, 11, 24, something like that. So about 5 seconds ahead of George. And I don't think George will be stopping again. I think he's just going to risk it. Team Black November. Aldo definitely doesn't. There's Raoul's in the pits. So if Mucky Weeks, who's already stopped in fact. Oh, Raoul's just coming out. Okay, that makes sense. I said if Mucky Weeks can get ahead, I might. No, maybe not. I knew the gap was pretty big anyway. I was just thinking, like, how did he manage to close that much? And he didn't. WRC, F1J, them two yet to pit. Benny closing him, trying to close them both down. Ollie and George Porridge. He'd be wishing he'd be eating some porridge right now. So do I. I don't like porridge, if I'd say the same thing. There's no real battles going on. Breaker's just trundling at the back. My two guys, last and second to last. Oh no. What have I recruited? Mind you, it looked pretty good early on, so and we will have the first and second and the reverse bowl. So yeah, it's all to play for. There's some massive gaps. Brake has been lapped. Tatey's not a million miles away from being lapped. I think Tatey might actually be lapped at the end of this race. If he carries on with them lap times anyway. The fact that Black November's fastest lap really is a 52 flat shows he hasn't had the pace. George did a 51.1 shows he has got the pace in patches. F1J pits after doing a pretty bad lap actually. A 52 point whatever, but he's way ahead of George and ahead of Ollie in fact. So the overcut has worked out nice for F1J, but is WRC risking it to the end? Is he? To get that podium ahead of Benny? It would be a pretty it'd be a masterclass, to be honest. Is he saving fuel? I mean, his lap times don't suggest he's saving fuel. He pit on lap 7. It could be. It could well be. George looks set for P7. It looked so promising early on, but then it kind of dropped off. The only real battle we've got is Ollie in F1J, unless WRC decides to pit, and then it will be a freewheel scrap really. Benny doesn't seem to be catching too much on WRC. 4 tenths on the last lap. Is WRC going to pit this time around though? No wonder. No, he carries on. That suggests to me he's going to the end. With 4 laps to go. But he can't go to the end, his fuel won't make. I reckon. Or will it? I mean, Benny's fuel's not too different. George will be okay on fuel. Mind you, he's pitting, so his tyres might be going. I think he's just seen the car I think he's just seen Black November so far behind he wants to go for fastest lap possibly. Is that all it's actually got damage? So that might be why he's struggling to catch F1J. WRC's... Oh, he's made a big mistake there. And, well, not a big mistake, a little bit of a mistake. So Black November is still behind George by some margin. And the oncoming Aldo will look like he's gonna pass him. Obviously Aldo had an incident on lap 1 with Bud, it seemed, and somebody else, Breaker I think, and got himself into some all sorts of kind of trouble. And finally looks like Aldo gonna recover, and top 8 I think he'd be happy with. And it looks like he's gonna do that now, as Black November is really struggling on his tyres. But he's really parking the bus. Ooh, that's a nice chop from Blackie. And I'm expecting an accident, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. And Black November falls back into 9th, Aldo into 8th, George 7th, Olit 6th, F1J 5th, Benny 4th, Mick in 3rd, obviously Mick. Didn't do that final stop. Will his fuel get to the end? It's going to be on the empty, I reckon. It's on the margins. Benny will be fine, I think. I don't think he can make it. I don't know if Benny can make it, to be honest, unless they're going lean. And I reckon WRC has gone in lean, because his times have really dropped off in this last lap. But I think he'd be ahead of F1J and all if he even stuck it in lean, you know. So it'd be a masterclass from WRC, really, pulling off this overcut to the end of the race. Now it's only a matter of time, really, to just wait and see. If he doesn't pick this lap, I reckon he's going to. Well, obviously he's going to the end. This is his last chance. And you can see he's 1.2 seconds off his fastest lap, which suggests he's going quite quickly. Breaker there being lapped. His safety being lapped. There's Tatey and there's Raul, so that'll be fairly close. And WRC does not pit. He's going to be right on the wire on fuel. And Benny's catching him all the time. 2.8 seconds, so it's going to be a bit of a rush to the end. F1J, all it seems to have fell back with his penalty there. And he's still got his damage, obviously. George, I think, is going for a fastest lap. As you see, he got a 49.8 on his last lap. This lap, I'm not 100% sure his toolmaster wants me to play F1, but we'll forget about that. And George was a 50.1, which is faster than his previous fast lap of the race, but it was invalidated. So he's got 2 laps to set a fast lap. All it bins it into the wall, and I don't know how that affects him. And he's a Merc. It's interesting to see he doesn't actually have a livery this time out. And you can see WRC's fuel really, really low. And he's pulled away from Benny, and I wonder if he's made a mistake. Or he's just pulling away generally, I don't know. Maybe he saved it for a couple of laps. Maybe Breaker got involved. I'm not sure. He's key. If I was Tatey, I'd be getting well out of the way and just let it be lapped. But he does that well and truly, doesn't he? As he bins it. And now he's lapped. And WRC, I'm going to say, what a drive from him to pull this overcut off, because it looked like that Benny would get this podium pretty convincingly, and then he decided to stay out. and he's deciding to bring it to the end, and it looks like he's going to get this podium as he goes on to the last lap of the race. Any other little battles on this track? Aldo's pulled away from Blackie. George still hasn't got his fastest lap, but we'll keep on board until the end of this lap for him. See if he does get the fastest lap, or his fastest lap, or whatever. It's not invalidated this time, because he goes in a bit sideways. It's really close to the wall, and it's going to be... he's going to do 49.7 for his fastest lap of the race, but he's a second off. What Raoul's doing right now is he's on his last lap, commanded from the front from the very start. Will start last in the reverse grid, which will be very hard to bring his way through the field with what he's got in front of him. But he's done half the job, got pole position, commanded from the front, got the fastest lap. He gave every other sign that he can win, not only this one but the other race, because he's clearly faster than everyone else at this track, is Raoul. And it's quite interesting to see Raoul's pace, because sometimes he's in, sometimes he's out, sometimes he's bad, sometimes he's good, but in this car he looks nailed, and he's going to come across the line, and he's going to win at Alsace, this feature race. And Mocking Weeks, you know what I mean, he's kept it consistent, doesn't have any damage, and he's going to come home P2. Just didn't have the pace on Raoul today. WRC. Benny, I didn't realise that was actually Benny. Benny goes down the inside into the last corner, and will Benny be able to claim that third place? And it looks like he has on the last corner. Or WRC, will he get the run? No, he won't. Benny gets third place, and I think WRC actually ran out of fuel up to the line, and I think that's why Benny closed in so much. I think he ran out of fuel, and Benny so close at the end, 7/10, and WRC F1J's 5th, Oleg 6th, George with a 48.6 gets the fastest lap of the race on the last lap of the race. George Porridge actually got that fastest lap rather than Raoul in the end, and he was really closing in on all it, not gonna lie. So, and Aldo come home in 8th, Black November 9th, Tatey 10th, and Breaker, my two guys, will start 1st and 2nd for this sprint. So all good. As Mr. Aldo comes around the final corner, but you've got to applaud George for that, for the fastest lap of the race. And Aldo in P8, and we just wait for Blackie, who's had a pretty shite race, to be honest. He's going to come home in P9. He's had his trials and tribulations, but his sprint race, he got picked up a couple of points, and he'll be hoping his sprint race will deliver better results than him being in it. George is happy with his fastest lap, but we'll be back shortly for the reverse grid. I'm just going to take a dump. I am back. And I'm the only one here. Ooh. We've got 12 drivers. I'm pretty sure I had 13 to begin with. Because we seem to have lost one somewhere. I've got a little site, custard slice, and I don't like custard. I love a nice cream slice. I'll confess that. But we're gonna go to... Oh, we can change the camera angle this time. This is bullshit. Right, let's go to the front. We'll start on board with Black November. Actually, we'll go on board with George. And it's lights out. And away we go. George, obviously, I'm predicting to be favourite. Ollie might have a chance as well. Going into turn 1. George is going really deep, as you can see. Tatey has got the lead, and Black November's got in all sorts of trouble. And so is Breaker. And Black November as well being involved. But Benny's got the best start of anybody. Up into third, ahead of Ollie. And looks like Aldo looking to take the lead, and Aldo has had a really good start. Obviously we don't know his pace too much. Because of last race. But we'll see. He takes the lead off of Tatey. Benny looks to not very good there. And it's fair to say Black November was killed there. Right, mixture of Ollie and WRC. I think it may have been WRC if we can have a look at the damage. Yeah, WRC came from behind and reared him. I mean, that was Peggy 18 and its best. George has got to a fairly solid start this time round. Oh, that made me squint a bit. But up the front we've got a little bit of a battle. Between Benny, not so much Tatey. We also like Benny may have had this one already won. I mean, where's Raoul in all this? Dead last. So, and it doesn't look like he's got any damage, so might have been on the grass or somewhere. Breaker had a shocking start. We've got Big Bad Bud and George and Tatey getting all out of shape with Ollie. George will be looking for a podium here, I'm pretty sure. Because he's looking for to dispatch with Ollie, and actually Big Bad Bud goes for something very super. But Aldo's still in the lead there in distance as Ollie and Tatey get really up close and personal. But Tatey's holding on, so fair play to him. One corner at a time. But George has got the overspeed and he's on the grass, allows Bud to go past. Remember, George, you've got grass on your tyres. Hold it now to F1 J7. McQueen's 8th. Mockingbirds had a pretty shocking start as well, with a bit of damage. Obviously WRC with the worst start of everyone. You see the Alsace balloon. But we've got a little bit of a train going on here behind Tatey. But Tatey's defended well so far. But how long can he hold on? For this lap, the race was 3 laps, I reckon he could hold on. But Bud actually made a mistake there. Now George is in prime position. But he's got to watch himself, because if he tries to overtake Ollie, he may take Tatey. As they both get Tatey. Wow. I'm eating. Has George got work to take Ollie to the cleaners? And he tries around the inside, which now turns to the inside. Got to tip it very quick, leave Ollie room on the outside. It looks like George has got this position. A bit of wheel banging. And I don't really know what's happened with Aldo. Aldo's actually lost connection, I think. Which gives George second place. And I can see George actually maybe catching Benny. Maybe George has got this one won. Even I know Benny's about 2.5 seconds up the road. 3 laps to go. That November was retired. Break still going. Tatey doing a really good job in 5th at the minute. George getting out of shape. He's going to come across on Ollie now. Will Ollie try to switch back? He does a little bit, but not convincingly. Now going down into the last corner. This is being a popular chance to overtake, and he's killed George. And he kind of lets him go. But George won't be happy with that because he's got damage. And you see George has got all sorts of damage now. And that's really gifted to Benny the winner. And Ollie's had all sorts of trouble, and that's allowed Tatey to come back from the absolute brink of defeat. And now looking at Bud, will it go to his head though? It doesn't look like it has, as he's pulled out of the throttle there. Now down the inside. Will he try it? Not late enough on the brake. George seems to have got away with it, because Bud has a bit of damage as well. But oh no, he hasn't really, has he? The overspeed from Bud there. George leaves him very little space to manoeuvre, but he knows he has to do that. And this allows Tatey to come back. And will there be an accident there? As they try to go 2 in for 1 there, and Bud knows that doesn't work. Ollie is in all sorts of trouble as well. And Raoul has actually come from absolutely nowhere, kept himself well out of trouble, been nowhere all race, and all of a sudden has come to pounce on everybody's mistakes. And it looks like he's going to try and move on Tatey as he gets a little bit of a nudge from Ollie. Ollie seems to outbrake himself a lot. Bud doesn't get the traction down. There's had to get out of the throttle there. That could be costly, or will it, on the Beetle there, as it goes around the outside. Will George about to hold the place down the inside? He tries it. Oh, Bud to perfection. And and George has binned it again. And he's got some serious damage. Down to 7th now is George. And there's Breaker, of all people, getting past. As Ollie gets all out of shape. But we've got a big battle here between Mocking Week. So I didn't even mention, I didn't even know who he was about. And Bud and Raoul, as Bud lets Raoul and Mucky Meeks go, so they're both on the podium. Benny seems to have got this one well and truly won. And Mucky Meeks, that's a bit hasty on the throttle. As Bud comes back on him. Tatey's still in there. Well, it doesn't seem to have the pace on him at the minute. No lack of pace due to that, all that damage. And George will be getting past breaker fairly quickly, I'm presuming. But Tatey stays, and but all it has the overspeed. But I've got to say, patience by Raoul is unbelievable to get that right. Tatey's being overtaken by a damaged Ollie, but will Tatey have a go? It looks like he's going to have a go, and he backs out. And it looks like Ollie may have that position done. George hasn't got past breaker yet. George still has a chance on 50 here because Ollie's got so much damage. George has a lot himself. As Tatey gets very close to that wall. George clips the inside, that won't help his troubles. He's got one lap and that's all. Mucky Meeks and oh, my voice is going. Mucky Meeks and Bud going at it for the last podium spot. Mucky Meeks now knows that it's now or never. Will he dive bomb him down the inside? No, he won't. Raoul has got away with this, really, to be honest. Although Benny shouldn't really be winning this race, but he was the one at the start who kept out of the danger. So I suppose he should, but on raw pace, Raoul's been miles ahead of everybody. Bud, Mucky Meeks, Ollie, and Tatey still at it. Breaker, and George has got breaker. And breaker is looking at George. Well, he isn't really, is he? Tatey's looking at Ollie though. Will Ollie be able to hold on with all that damage? But we're going to go up to the front. No, not quite yet. There's Bud and Mucky Meeks. Bud gets all out of shape. Now we'll go to front as Benny comes across the line to win the sprint race, so he gets third and first, but Raoul's the winner of the day, getting second and first in the sprint as well, so he'll gain lots and lots of valuable points for his championship. Bud came back from that really horrible feature for him for third place. Mucky Meeks fourth and second overall. Ollie fifth. Tatey, very good race from him. Mistake. George, he could have been second really for him if he'd got past Ollie, but he didn't manage it. Breaker 8th, F1J 9th, and WRC, oh dear, WRC, wakey wakey. Oh, his wheels snapped. WRC's wheel has snapped, and that's why we're watching him not doing a lot through this very difficult corner to get around if your wheel has snapped. I think he's trying to get this pad working, but with the pad you can accelerate but not turn. But he's managing to get up there. Unfortunately, he's going to roll back down again in a minute. But this is fairly entertaining stuff. He's now in the middle of the circuit. I don't quite know right now. I'm fairly confused on what I can do. I think he may be doing this on purpose, I'm not sure. But his wheel is apparently snapped, so that's all I've learnt from it. Oh, he's turning. And now he's going back down again. Yes, George, you've said that before. There's Benny's lapped him even though he's finished the race, and so has Raoul. He's sort of going in a straight line. Why don't he unplug the wheel and then... Oh. And he doesn't finish the race. So I'm not sure how the points will work with that, but... But anyway, that's the end of GT for this week. Next week we're at a track. Some sort of racetrack that I don't know. But yeah, until then, I'm Dan 7, and we're out of here. Bye.